Oh shoot, okay. Have I already ruined this recipe? We were just getting started. That's one of the weird, like, surprising things that you wouldn't think about. That is so different in so many different countries, and I just don't quite feel French enough. Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm gonna be doing something that I have been thinking about doing. I've been tempted to try for a very long time, like a very long time, and I've just never actually committed to doing it. I'm gonna bake cannelés. I don't actually remember the first time that I tried a cannelé, but I remember it was shortly after I moved to France, and I was still just discovering French pâtisserie, Paris, culture, language, all of those things that I was just immersing myself in. I mean, I had been from abroad from before. If you don't know my story, check out some of my other videos. I have a ton of, hi Bingley. I have a ton of videos on my channel about my journey becoming French. But I remember that cannelés were one of the first things that really stuck out, one of the very first core Paris memories that I made, and I really loved them. So at one point when I was out and about, I saw silicone molds for cannelés, and I bought them. And I think I've only ever used them one time to bake cannelés, but with my family. I've never actually tried making them by myself, and it's been a very long time since I even made them with help, in which case I probably wasn't doing most of the heavy lifting there for the baking. So today, I'm gonna be trying to do it all by myself for the very first time, and we're gonna see how it goes. First things first, we need some specific ingredients that I do not have, so let's get them. I'm gonna go ahead and combine my sugar. Here are the cannelé molds. They're so cute. I don't know if silicone's the best texture really to be baking cannelés with, but it is the most convenient, and I'm not, you know, that much of an expert, as you can tell. This is my first time ever buying actual dairy milk in the Netherlands, so hopefully this is right. Normally my husband and I drink soy and oat, so I've never actually bought dairy milk in this country since I've been here. One of the reasons that I have chosen cannelés for my baking project for today is that, well, first of all, like I said, they're very special. I love cannelés. I would really like to know how to make them at least semi-well, even if it's not, you know, pâtissière sort of level. But I think it would be a fun next step, and I also think it would be very fun for me to be able to take these French recipes and share them with friends here and share them with my family in the US and just learn how to do it. Like, learn how to do new things that are maybe a little bit more challenging than the banana breads that I've kind of been doing for a while. I've also kind of felt like, since getting French nationality, I think I expected it to be like this, I don't know, aha moment or something really to click in my brain where suddenly I felt legitimate in my Frenchness in a way. And I don't think that's happened completely. It has in some ways, and in other ways it hasn't. It's brought up new questions, and I still have just that little bit of, I guess, imposter syndrome in connecting with that side of me. French culture has been a part of my life for almost 13 years now, which is kind of crazy to think about. That's not a lot less than half of my life, and certainly the vast majority of my adult life. So most of my memories, most of my day-to-day, most of my, like, the way I see the world has been so influenced by France. I've said many, many times, it is a second home to me, and in many ways, it's in some ways like a first home because I've spent the longest amount of time in my adult years in France, living in France. But it's weird because I think there's just something in my brain, but also sometimes with other people. In real life, you know, I'll run into them occasionally, but more so I think on the internet, people do like to call into question other people's, I guess, legitimacy in some ways, and that kind of encourages imposter syndrome, which is already something that a lot of us struggle with. So getting nationality was a huge step, and it definitely did do a lot for me in terms of making me feel a little bit more confident, I guess, in my connection with France. But now that I have it, it's made me realize that that wasn't the only thing I think lacking.
Oh my God. I am part of the problem.
There's still some kind of internal struggles that I'm having some days, sometimes, some periods of, you know, life or whatever, where it becomes a little bit more present. And I just don't quite feel French enough. Like, is my French level good enough? Like, speaking the language, is my French knowledge good enough? If I'm not, like, up to date with all of the current things that are happening, does that, you know, does that reflect poorly on me? All of these questions that pop up from time to time, not all the time, but once in a while, it kind of overwhelms me a little bit. So I look for ways of reconnecting in a way, or connecting in some different way to my Frenchness, which is a very, very important part of me now. So today, that is manifesting in cannelés. I didn't actually check the size of this when I bought it, but apparently this is exactly how much I need. Yeah, 500 milliliters. Well, that would have saved me a dish to clean, but that's okay. And we need to scrape out the insides of the vanilla. This says a half, but I kind of want to put it all in because I feel like, because I'm not like letting this sit for a long period of time, and I had watched some recipes where people let it sit for like 24, 48 hours. I'm not going to do that because I'm impatient, but I think I'm just going to put the entirety of the insides of this in there so that it's nice and vanilla-y. You have to cut it like lengthwise, like this ways, which you can't really see, but I'm not going to move my camera because that is risky. Because I kind of have you balanced a little bit, as I usually do when I have you in the kitchen. I don't think I've gotten all the vanilla out of there, but we're gonna go with that. And I'm gonna drop the vanilla bits in here. You can't see because I have my rum bottle there. I'll move that in a sec. Move the rum. I'm not quite sure what temperature you need to get milk to boil either, but I'm just gonna try. Let's grab. So next we need to mix the flour and the sugar in a saladier. I have my baking scale, flour here. I'm using regular flour. I know in France, the specifications of flour is a bit different than what they have here in the Netherlands. And also I don't really understand exactly the different types of flours that you have here. That's one of the weird, like surprising things that you wouldn't think about that is so different in so many different countries. I put too much. Is flour and how it's like marketed and packaged and the different types and what's common and what's not common. It's very different in the US, in the UK, in France, here in the Netherlands, in Canada. Like it's different everywhere. So it's very difficult actually to translate those sorts of things. 250 grams of sugar. It's interesting to me to kind of discover how different people think of nationality. Since becoming French especially, and talking about that a little bit more, it was easy before because I had one passport and I had a French, carte de résidence. So it was pretty easy to explain to people my situation and it made sense to everybody. But now that I have nationality, I've discovered that some people have very strong opinions about it, and that's not necessarily helped my own kind of personal identity and coming to terms with how I feel about my Frenchness and my connection with France. I got a comment on one of my videos. It's been, I think, a few months now, but it's kind of lingered in the back of my head. Once in a while I'll think about it. Not that often, but once in a while. And it was in a video where I think I talked about like, oh, I don't know what to call myself, French American, American French, because American French felt more like me because I'm American first. I grew up American, but then I became French and now I'm both. And this person left a comment that was like, you're American with a French passport. Like, as if to correct me, at least this is what I assume that she meant. I don't actually know. It's just a comment. It's hard to read people's intent. But it sounded like she was trying to correct me, like, you're not French. You just have a French passport. Which, I hate to break it to you, that's the same thing. I am a French citizen. I can live in France. I can move to France. I can vote in France. I am as French as any other French person, at least officially. Obviously, I wasn't born and raised in France. I'm not a native French speaker. I'm a very fluent French speaker, but I still make mistakes because I'm a non-native speaker. I don't have the same connection and knowledge of the culture, the movies and TV shows and politics and music and all of that stuff that comes along with, someone who maybe was born and raised in France. I live with someone and share my life with someone who is, so I'm very well aware of where our differences are in terms of, that upbringing. But just because my connection is different, and it is less of a strong connection, it's a weaker connection, it's still a connection. I'm still French. I don't understand why some people, I think, want to qualify it so much. My husband and I have a lot of friends because we've moved around so much and, we've just ended up in a lot of very international circles. We've met a ton of people who have all different kinds of nationalities and backgrounds. We've met French people who have never lived in France. We've met French people who, are half French and half another nationality. Sometimes they're half one nationality, half of another nationality, like one parent from one nationality, one parent from another, but they've always lived in a third country. So they have 2, 3 nationalities, and their connections with each of those places are so different. They're very individual. Like, you can't just assume because they have a parent that's this, they must have this type of connection with that country. It's so different. Some people feel very disconnected from the country they've grown up in culturally, but they feel super connected to one or both of their parents' nationalities. Some people feel super connected to one parent's nationality, but not so much to another, and also super connected to a third country where they've spent, a lot of their time, for example. It's so different, and you have to evaluate each person's situation individually. You have to actually talk to that person. You have to ask them, get to know the individual. I think sometimes people lose that nuance, especially on the internet. This milk is really starting to boil now, and I'm not actually sure when I'm supposed to stop it. Oh shoot, okay, the butter was supposed to be in there, apparently. Hang on. Have I already ruined this recipe? We were just getting started. The structure of this sentence: faire bouillir le lait avec la gousse de vanille préalablement fondue et égrenée et le beurre. Et le beurre. at the end. All right, so I think this I just add to the milk. Okay, the eggs. This is the part that I'm most scared about, I'll be honest, because there's 2 whole eggs and then there's 2 jaune d'œuf, just the egg yolk. And I'm very, very bad at separating the white from the yolk. So let's see how this goes. I'm gonna try to do the egg yolk first, because then if I mess it up, it can just become one of my whole eggs. This is already off to a bad start. Yeah, this is gonna be a whole egg. All right, I've seen this done. I don't need eggs that often. Okay, I think that is a fine enough separated egg yolk. So we need the yolk, so I'm gonna put the yolk in with the whole egg. Let's see if I can get a second egg yolk. I don't really know what to do with all this extra egg white at the end. Let me know if you have recipes, like if you make stuff often where you need just the yolk. Let me know if you have recipe recommendations for using this egg white. And that means that this last egg will go fully in this other bowl. There we go, perfect. I survived the egg stage. I'm so proud of myself. So the eggs go into the flour and sugar bowl, and then I mix that to get une pâte fluide, comme une pâte à crêpes, which I don't really know what that is either because I've never made crepes myself. I have watched my mother-in-law do that, but I've never done it myself. In saying all of this, I feel like it's important to point out that I have never claimed to be as French as my husband or as French as a French person who has grown up in France, who has spent all of their life in France, for example. I've never, on the internet or otherwise, I've never tried to play off like I have a connection that's any more than what it is. I'm very honest about that. Of course, there are, you know, these external things, like I said, like occasional comments, but I think a lot of it, let's face it, a lot of it is my own personal imposter syndrome and insecurities. Because the people in my life that matter the most, whose opinions actually really matter to me, my husband first and foremost when it comes to my connection, you know, with France, his family's opinion matters, my friends in France, but also French friends that I've met elsewhere, and not a single one of them has questioned me or has made me feel weird or excluded. In fact, a lot of times they're a lot more complimentary and a lot more inviting and welcome than I am to myself. While I'm sitting there apologizing for my French and saying, oh no, I'm French, but it's my marriage. That's why I make all these mistakes, or that's why I sound like this. But while I'm there apologizing for all of those completely normal things, they're standing there like, no, this is fine. You're fine.
I think you're overthinking it.
I think you're underthinking it.
Let me grab those little bits of vanilla. Is it a bad idea to touch them with my fingers? Probably. Ha 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 ha. I watched a video where they added part of it and then stirred it and then part of it, so I'm gonna try that. It's looking so good. I'm so excited. It smells really good. I don't know if it's gonna taste good. I don't know if the texture is gonna be good, but the smell is amazing. And I haven't even added the rum yet. You guys know that I like wine because I mention it from time to time. I don't drink it that often, but I do really like it. You also know that I like whiskey because I talked about it when I did my Scotland vlogs, which by the way, if you haven't watched my Scotland vlogs, they're some of the videos that I'm most proud of. So please go check those out. They're on my travel vlogs playlist. What you might not know is that I also really like rum. Typically, if I go to a place and I want to try like a different cocktail or like an on the house cocktail, like a unique one that's not one of your basic ones, I will go for something with rum, just anything with rum, which also is probably why Cannelés are so like up my alley. Let's go ahead and put some of the stuff away while this cools, and then I will add the rum. So the French recipes that I found for Cannelés said to use rhum ombré, which I looked up, and that translates to gold rum. The English recipes that I found said to use dark rum, which is different from gold rum. I went with gold rum because let's just trust the French ones and hope that the translations of rhum ombré to gold rum are actually accurate. I don't know, because as much as I do enjoy rum, I don't actually really know that much about it. I think that's pretty perfect. It smells really nice. I'm gonna leave the whisk in there in the fridge so I can stir it once it's sat. And apparently I need to let it sit for an hour. Speaking of keeping connected to or reconnecting with things that are super important to me and kind of essential core parts of me, British literature classics. I have a master's degree from a British university in English literature, specifically Romantic and Victorian, 19th century. And I spent so many years of my life devouring classics, but since university, I have had phases where I've connected with them again, where I've not connected with them. And of course, I've always loved fantasy as well. It's what I have always liked to write. It's always been one of my favorite genres to read. But over the past few years, I really haven't read that many classics or reread or anything. Fast forward to a month or two ago, and one of my friends invited me to a book club that she is a part of, and the first book on the agenda is Jane Eyre. I read this a long time ago for a class, but I will be honest, it was a really intense point of the semester when this became required reading. So I'm pretty sure I skimmed and breezed through this. Like, I really did not sit and actually read it and actually enjoy it. So this has been really fun. I am super, super excited. I haven't had my first meeting with the book club yet, so I have no idea what the kind of vibe is, how the discussion will go, but I am activating my little student ways all over again. I have some little tabs, which a friend got me a while ago, and I've used them here and there, but I haven't had an opportunity to really use them like this. I'm really enjoying this book. I have to stop now though, because my timer has gone off and it is time for the next step of the cannelés. Hopefully you can hear me with the oven now going, but it is preheating and I think it's just about done now. And I have also saved you the trouble of having to watch me individually butter each one of these little, these are actually technically mini cannelés, but yeah, I had to butter each one. They are bien beurrés, as the recipe calls for, and it does say it like that, so I have tried to make sure they are sufficiently buttered. So now, let's get the pâte out of the frigo. Definitely cold. So now we just need to fill them up. It says to make sure not to fill them more than half. Let me move you down a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. I still have a ton of batter left actually, but I don't want to overfill them because that's always what I do. When it says to fill them halfway or 3/4 the way, I always just want to use up all the batter, and then it ends up messing up the actual outcome. So I've tried not to do that here. I'm gonna save the rest of the batter, and I guess I will make another batch afterward. So these need to bake for about 20 minutes on a higher heat, and then I need to reduce the heat and then let them bake for a full hour. So it's gonna be a little bit, and hopefully these will turn out okay. Et nous voilà. Some of them seem to have burned just a little bit, but these over here look really good. So I'm just gonna blame the oven for that because it's not the best oven. Obviously, it is not quite an even distributor of heat. So let's get them out of the moule. Oh my gosh, look how cute this one is. It's like so perfectly shaped, a little short, otherwise perfect. What happened to him? I do think that I have burned them. I used to burn stuff all the time. That used to be like my MO. I was always burning stuff. I was always like checking it and thinking, oh no, it's not good enough, it's not done enough. This time I just followed the recipe though. I didn't it wasn't my bad judgment. I was just following what I was supposed to do. I suspect the recipe was for like regular cannelés, and because these are mini cannelés, I probably should have reduced the time. Oh my God, look at that. These in the corner really suffered. Now all that's left is to taste test. All right, let's taste test. I grabbed this one, which seems to be a little bit less burnt, and then this one, this poor little dude. Oh my goodness. I was really worried it was not gonna be like well cooked on the inside, but this is almost perfect. If this part, like what was on the top, but you know, becomes the bottom, if that part hadn't burnt, because even this one, which is one of the less done ones, it's a little burnt. It's a little bit crusty, but if that hadn't burnt, I think this would have been like perfect. À la fin de la journée, je crois qu'il me faut juste trouver ma propre manière de rester connectée avec mon identité française, avec les aspects de la culture, de la vie, le langage, les aspects qui vraiment sont importants pour moi et pour mon partenaire et pour ma vie quotidienne. J'ai toujours été perfectionniste et c'est quelque chose que je suis encore, même si je veux plus être, parce que c'est pas pratique, c'est pas utile, c'est pas productif d'être comme ça, mais j'y travaille. I sometimes wonder how other people might perceive me or how I might perceive myself if we had continued to live in France, or if I watched even more, you know, French media, or if my accent or my vocabulary was even better in French. But you just can't, like, it doesn't even matter. You know, it is what it is. And I'm really curious also, especially since you've gotten this far in the video, I'm curious what your connection to this topic is. If you kind of relate to my struggles, if this is something that feels very familiar to you based on your experiences. Or maybe you're just curious. Maybe you're just wanting to know a little bit more about my experience or just kind of fascinated by the idea. So yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of the topic. Let me know what you think of my cannelés. And if you have any tips for me, if there's something I could have done better and you're watching and you're like, oh my God, stop, don't do it that way, you're gonna ruin it. Let me know in the comments. Tell me, and tell the other people in case they want to recreate this. I will be doing this again. And also I have leftover batter still in the fridge. So tomorrow or the next day or this weekend or something, I'm gonna be remaking a batch of cannelés. So give me your tips and maybe the second batch will be even better. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. That's super, super helpful for me. It also lets me know that you enjoyed it and you wanna see more like it. And subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed already and you wanna see more, you know, random pseudo rants and pseudo just kind of blah blah, as the French would say, about my life and my experience, Frenchness, Americanness, living abroad, nerdiness, a lot of nerdiness on this channel. As always though, thank you so much for watching and I will talk to you very soon in another video.